Welcome everyone to another Mindset Matters video with Sandra. And today I would like to talk to you about intentional living. Before I begin diving into that, I would like you just for a moment to imagine 200 years ago, maybe even 100 years ago, and maybe even more recent, like post-World War II. I want you to imagine what it was like. And for some of you that know about history, know that definitely your grandparents and your great grandparents and before them, all your ancestors had it very differently than you have it today. Doesn't matter what race you're from or what religion or country. Know that people had to learn a living for their families and for themselves. They had their gender very much defined. If you were a woman, you could do X, Y, and Z, and in other ways you couldn't. If you were a man, you had to do it this way, had to earn a living. There wasn't a lot of room for feely, touchy exploration in psychology, because that's really a fact. Okay, that's just the way society was. Now, I'm not saying that everything was bad in those previous generations. Clearly, there was a lot of really wonderful things that occurred. We've evolved out of that for sure. In many ways, but sometimes in our mindsets, perhaps we haven't. And that's where I want to talk about. And imagine these roles being completely defined. Imagine now that education, if I were to tell you that formal education, like university, was really only for the wealthy, and more so only for men, not for a lot of women. That may or may not shock you, but that was the truth. Education was a luxury, just like sometimes having the time to critically think or have these big, long discussions on philosophy and so forth was a luxury. Because let's face it, if you're out there trying to earn a living, putting food on the table, or you don't have a lot of money and education, and you don't have vehicles, and you don't have opportunities to read, maybe you're illiterate, because back then a lot of times it was, you're very limited in the kind of conversations you're going to have, right? You're going to be in survival mode more than you are in a thriving mode. So considering all these things, why is it that intentional living today is very important? Because first, we have the consciousness to understand this. We have the luxury of being able to watch these videos, of being able to create videos, to have computers, to have cell phones, to be able to go to the library if we don't have the money to purchase a book. We have so many resources, a plethora of modalities that we can access. Some things are definitely something that we need to pay for. Other things are actually free, and there's a lot of free things. And I want you to also notice that there is a sense of gratitude, hopefully, that's coming up when you start noticing, wow, I really do have choices in my life. I might not have exactly what I want right at this moment or exactly what I need, but the fact is that you can have what you want if you take the appropriate steps to arrive at a certain place. I'm not saying you're going to get everything you want. Like if you want to win the lotto, I don't know. You'll have to really be intentional about that one. But the point about this video isn't that, okay? It's more about talking about a way of being in the world, okay? So when we are focused on our intentions and goals and ways of being in the world, it brings a lot to the table, to the forefront. I would really like it, as you're listening to me, to perhaps experience some gratitude, regardless of your own pains and your challenges, to feel grateful for what you have and where you are at in your life and what opportunities come your way. Even though they're not ideal, they're still opportunities. I mean, in some countries, to have a help wanted at a McDonald's is gold. And sometimes in our country here in the United States, the help wanted at a fast food joint isn't, but that's relative. right? So opportunities are there. They might not be ideal, but they are still there. And many times opportunities, when we live intentionally, they're stepping stones, and they take us from one place to the next. We also have the freedom in consciousness, right? Again, as I was saying, we have available all these modalities, all these experts on YouTube and different channels giving us their insights for free. Maybe even myself, right? You can see this video as perhaps informative or provocative or however you want to look at it. Nonetheless, you're listening to me right now, and that is an opportunity. That in itself is an invitation for you to think deeper, to see things from a different angle about intentional living. So you can glean opportunity anywhere and everywhere if you set your intention to look for it, to find the evidence. Consciousness, to think deeper, to have that awareness, is actually a gem. And this is where it all begins. So how we set ourselves up for the day is imperative to experiencing more direction and more knowingness of where we're going and who we are. When you live your intentions, you give yourself the time to focus on who you are in the moment and recognize your values. So listen, I'm going to repeat that. When you live intentionally, starting out the day like this, you give yourself time to focus on who you are, how you want to step into the world, how you want to step into the day. And then you recognize your values. What's important for you that day, that week? It might be the same repetitive, situation. Like for me, being, in integrity is important. And I shower that integrity to the best of my ability in every area of my life, my finances, my intimate relationships, my friendships, the work that I do for people. That is my intention. And I try to walk the talk in that manner. Okay. So all of this intentional living to me means, this is just my opinion, complete loyalty to myself and to my integrity. So when we step into the day with the best version of who we are, regardless of anything else falling apart, we can always say, you know what, I tried. I tried this morning. This is what my intention was going to be, regardless of any outsourced trigger or anything that anyone says, right? And I'll do better next time. And so you set these like little standards as well for yourself. Intentions they're somewhat goal-oriented, but to me, it doesn't pressure you like goals do. Goals have a little bit more of a pressure, right? Of doing a lot of actions, getting stuff done, activities, tasks, although those are important. They're part of intentional living. But I do like intentions, setting the intention of how I want to be, because it is about who you want to be and what you wish to contribute to the world. I like to set daily intentions every day. So I get up in the morning, in other videos, you hear me say that. I know I'm being redundant, but you do. Every morning I get my coffee. I spend an hour and a half each morning. So that means, I'm a pretty early riser. And I get my journal out and I get my, affirmations and what I'm working on during that day, during that week. And I set that intention. And many times my intentional living, apart from these other tools that I have, is a lot about asking myself the question. And there is a spiritual flair to this as well. You don't have to be spiritual, by the way, but I happen to be. There's a little bit of a spiritual flair. So when I wake up and I ask myself, or when I'm drinking coffee and I ask myself a question like, how can I step into being the best version of who I am today? That would be maybe a question. Another question that I frequently ask myself, if not every day, is, how can I be of service? And to me, that question, for me, maybe for other people, this is different. It doesn't mean being subordinate, and it doesn't mean suppressing my expression or how I feel. It means, who can I be of service to? And what areas are lacking that I can step in with my leadership and expertise, or maybe just hold space for someone. I might not even have to say anything. That to me is being of service. The last thing I want to say about intentional living and why I really invite all of you to look at your everyday life differently and with this motivation is because one of the juiciest parts about intentional living is it creates purpose. And I don't know about you, but for me, purpose is everything. I want to feel that what I'm doing is a contribution to the world, and it's allowing me, again, for that self-expression. It's allowing me to have my loyalty, my love, my dedication, my tenacity, my integrity, all these leadership things, to be able to exercise them with the people around me. Sometimes I get random calls from people who are really in a crisis sometimes. And I'm able to, with my intentional living, to really say, okay, this is how I can step in and hold space for that individual. Living purposely is important because the opposite of that, it's like you're living, randomly day to day. And it's like you're not aiming at anything really important. And you're just aiming and hoping that your arrow hits something good, right? And with this attitude of like, well, I don't know what I'm going for, this, I don't have the intention or what have you, it kind of creates, I don't know, almost like you're in a victim mode. You're just kind of letting everybody dictate what you're doing. You're kind of living by default, right? I like to think of intentional living like a little roadmap, helping me align myself with my drive. And that, my friends, is self-empowerment. It's beautiful. It's transformational. It brings joy into your life. There's so many things that it does that's beneficial for you. It's healthy as well. Intentional living keeps you aligned with your values and your integrity. And it allows you to live in the present moment in a very calm way. And maybe you're not always calm, and that's okay too, right? Again, we apply tactics, Faster EFT, to help us come back on track. So it doesn't matter what we're facing. We might not have the inspiration. Don't wait for that inspiration. Just be. Just allow yourself to set your intentions every day so that you can step into the most authentic, best version of who you are for yourself. And when you do that for yourself, it's a display of self-love, of self-empowerment, and that is attractive. It's luring to other people. It does stick. It's influential as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any comments, please comment below, and please do subscribe to my channel, share this video with anyone that you think will benefit, and we'll be talking soon. Take care.